The glass tower over Midtown hums with quiet power as the Brooks family boardroom fills with men in suits and women in sharp dresses. Claire Brooks stands at the window, arms crossed, watching the city lights while the merger contract glows on the massive screen behind her. She built her reputation on never mixing business with feelings. Yet tonight, her own life is written into the legal clauses she is supposed to approve. At the far end of the table, Nathan West drops his leather folder. Gaze cool as winter rain, the golden boy of private equity who does not believe in forever. He scans the room, bored, until his eyes meet Claire, and the air sharpens like a blade between two people who have already clashed in too many deals. They once spent 14 hours in a negotiation that ended with a slammed door and a record-breaking bonus. Not even then did they look at each other like this.
We all know why we are here. The market is brutal, and this merger will keep both families on top. There is only one condition left. The two of you will marry and present a united front.
You are joking, right? You want me to marry the man who tried to gut my company in our last negotiation?
Laughter dies at the edge of the table, because no one else is laughing. The contract on the screen has a new section highlighted in red. Section 16, Personal Alliance, spells out their future like a prison sentence. 1 year of legal marriage, shared residence, shared public image. No scandal allowed. Claire remembers being 16 at this same table, listening, while men twice her age said she was too soft to lead. She promised herself that day never to let anyone cage her.
Think strategically, Claire. You will keep control, and you will not have to pretend to love anyone. Just sign and outplay him like you always do.
Relax, princess. It is not like I am thrilled either. I just prefer a contract to the fantasy my parents keep pushing. You do not believe in love. I do not believe in love. Our families get what they want, and we both walk away richer.
Do not call me princess. I would rather marry a spreadsheet. At least that would not talk back.
Richard slides a sleek pen toward his daughter, his jaw tight, the unspoken threat heavy walk away, and she loses the position she spent years building.
If you refuse, the board will vote. The merger moves forward without you, and your shares go into a trust you do not control.
Across the table, Nathan Mother sits with perfect posture, eyes bright with calculation. She has waited years to tie their empires together. Nathan thinks of every late night he spent cleaning up his parents' messes. How love was the weapon they used to justify every cruel demand.
Add a clause. 1 year, clean exit if either side wants out, no emotional expectations, no children used as bargaining chips.
His voice stays smooth, but his fingers curl against the table. Memories of a messy childhood custody battle flickering behind his calm.
Fine. 1 year. I will not fall in love with you, and you will stay out of my way at the office.
Promise granted. I will not ask for flowers or feelings, just your signature and your willingness to smile for the cameras.
The room holds its breath as legal counsel edits the document on the screen, adding the 1 year term like a countdown over their heads. Claire takes the pen, her hands steady. But every line of ink feels like a betrayal of the girl who once swore never to marry for money. She signs in a precise stroke, hearing the soft clicks of cameras outside the glass, already hungry for the first image of the new power couple. Nathan signs next, barely glancing at the terms. He has done worse for deals. Yet the ring box on the table makes his chest feel oddly tight. He once told a friend that marriage was just another hostile takeover, with nicer invitations. Suddenly, the joke tastes bitter on his tongue. Cameras flash as the boardroom doors open to the waiting press. The story already leaked. 2 cold-hearted prodigies turning marriage into the ultimate merger.
Smile for your shareholders, Nathan. The whole city is about to watch us pretend we know how to be in love.
Then let us give them a show, Claire, and while they stare at the fantasy, we will both quietly rewrite the rules.
Outside, the night explodes with flashbulbs and shouted questions. Inside, Claire and Nathan walk side by side, 2 strangers bound by signatures instead of vows. Neither of them knows it yet, but this cold beginning will become the fault line, where their carefully controlled lives finally crack open. 3 weeks later, the penthouse they now share looks like a designer magazine spread, and a silent war zone at the same time. Claire moves through the open kitchen in a silk blouse and loose sweatpants, barefoot on marble, making coffee like she owns every inch of the space. Nathan has claimed the living room for work, laptop open, tie discarded, His schedule synced with hers only where the public appearances overlap. They communicate mostly through shared calendars, post-it notes on the fridge, and clipped emails that read like internal memos instead of anything domestic.
Your assistant sent my assistant a shared calendar, invite titled Domestic Harmony Experiment. Did you approve that name?
I told him to label everything clearly. Apparently he has more faith in us than we do, which is honestly terrifying.
Their banter sparks without effort, sharp and quick, a shield over the awkward truth that they wake up under the same roof, but never touch. On paper, they are perfect. Their social feeds filled with curated smiles from charity events and investor dinners. Off camera, they pass each other like wary neighbors. The first explosion comes on a Tuesday night, when a gossip site posts blurry photos of Nathan leaving a bar with a woman who is not his contract wife.
You had one rule: no scandal. I had to call our publicist from a board meeting because you could not keep your ego indoors.
It was a client dinner, she stumbled. I helped her to a cab. The internet cropped the driver out for drama.
The market does not care about your intentions. They care about perception. And our stock dipped 3 points in an hour.
Nathan watches the tightness around her eyes, the way she keeps glancing at her phone, as if waiting for someone else to attack while she is already exhausted.
Send me the talking points. I will sit for the interview. I will say whatever you need to stabilize the price.
His offer throws her for a moment. She is used to men defending their pride more than their partners, even pretend partners.
Fine. Tomorrow morning, you will emphasize that we spend every free moment together here, that you respect our marriage, even if it is new.
That night, sleep refuses to come. Claire lies on one side of the king bed, Nathan on the other, a gulf of pillows like a treaty line between them. She stares at the ceiling and mentally reviews numbers, revenue charts, and risk reports. Anything to avoid the question of why his almost scandal felt personal. In the dark, she whispers the truth she never says out loud: that her last boyfriend turned her into a lesson about trusting the wrong person. Nathan stares at the ceiling, remembering a teenage promise to never let feelings dictate his future. After watching his parents destroy each other in court, he listens to the small sounds she makes when she finally falls asleep, surprised by the sudden urge to keep the world from hurting her again. The second explosion hits at the office, when a senior partner questions Claire's promotion, hinting that her marriage bought her influence she did not earn.
Some people climb the ladder, some marry into a better view. The optics are tricky here.
Before Claire can respond, Nathan steps into the glass conference room, his expression cool enough to freeze the heated whispers outside.
Claire closed 3 major deals before our wedding. She saved both our companies from a hostile bid. So if you have a problem with her title, you have a problem with me.
The room falls quiet. The partner retreats with a muttered apology, and Claire feels something shift, a tiny crack in the wall she keeps around her heart.
You did not have to do that. Defending me is not in the contract.
Maybe it should have been. You watch my back in public. I watch yours. Nobody gets to rewrite your story but you.
Later that night, they share takeout on the couch, feet almost touching, laughter softening the edges of the day. Two broken people pretending they are only partners. The television plays some mindless show, but they barely watch, too busy trading sarcastic comments and small pieces of their histories. Neither of them notices how the distance on the couch shrinks, or how the idea of 1 year begins to feel less like a sentence and more like a beginning. By the time spring wraps the city in soft rain and new leaves, the contract couple has become the favorite headline for every business and lifestyle magazine. Photos of Claire and Nathan leaving charity galas, exchanging quick smiles at investor breakfasts, and walking hand in hand into court filings paint them as a power fairy tale. Inside the penthouse, reality looks different. There are coffee mugs on the counter, a pair of his running shoes by the door, her jacket slung over the back of his chair. They still sleep with a careful space between them, yet their days begin to braid together, inside jokes and shared playlists, softening the sharp edges. On weekends they sometimes work at the same table, laptops open, trading quiet opinions on deals, surprised by how often they agree on what matters. One Thursday, an anonymous tip sends a reporter digging into Nathan's past, hinting at a failed startup he never talks about, and a co-founder who vanished without payout.
Some investors say you walked away and left your partner in ruins. What should your new wife and your board think about that?
Nathan's jaw ticks on live television, old shame flaring. But before he can craft a careful answer, Claire leans forward in her chair.
Every founder has scars. Nathan built himself back from failure without declaring bankruptcy or hurting our current investors. That is the only record that matters to me.
Her tone leaves no room for doubt or for the reporter to twist the story. The clip goes viral, captioned with praise for her loyalty and his resilience. Backstage, Nathan stares at her in surprise. The woman who swore she would never mix feelings with business just risked her reputation to shield his.
You did not owe me that. I buried that failure for a reason. It was not your mess to clean up.
That mess shaped you. It taught you where the lines are. And people deserve to see that you are more than the perfect numbers on a screen.
That night, rain drums against the floor-to-ceiling windows while they share a bottle of wine, their shoulders finally touching without either of them pulling away. Claire tells him about the night. Her ex leaked private messages to shame her for choosing work over moving to his small hometown.
He said, I was unlovable, that no man would ever want a woman who chose a board meeting over a baby shower.
He was wrong and lazy. It takes strength to want more from life than a script someone else wrote for you.
For the first time, someone does not ask her to apologize for her ambition. Nathan's words land in the tender places she hides from everyone else. In return, she listens when he finally admits that his parents' war turned love into something that looks like a loaded weapon in his mind.
Every time I think about saying I care, I remember their shouting, the slammed doors, the way affection became ammunition when things went bad.
We are not them. We can make different rules, even if we are still scared.
Their confession hangs in the air between them, fragile and real. A quiet treaty that promises they will at least try to be kinder to themselves and each other. The next challenge arrives with an email from a rival firm, hinting at a coordinated move to buy out a division Claire has been fighting to protect. The offer is generous but predatory, and it includes a clause triggered if their marriage is dissolved before the year is up.
They are betting that we will implode, that our feelings, or lack of feelings, will cost us leverage.
Then we do not implode. We hold the line together and we remind them that two people who will not love can still fight side by side.
In the weeks that follow, they spend long nights mapping scenarios on the kitchen island, shoulders brushing as they lean over spreadsheets and legal drafts. Somewhere between one late-night strategy session and the next sunrise, Claire realizes she has stopped counting the days left on their contract. For the first time since the contract began, they walk into a crisis not as forced partners but as a team that has chosen each other. At least for this battle. Summer heat presses against the city when the real betrayal finally shows its face. Not from a rival firm, but from inside their own families. Claire finds the hidden memo during a late-night review. A document outlining a plan to remove her from her role once the merger terms lock in. Her father's signature sits at the bottom, alongside Nathan's mother. The people who pushed them into marriage quietly plotting to cut them both out when it is safe.
They were never protecting us. They were protecting their power. We were just convenient assets to shuffle around the board.
Nathan reads the memo twice, jaw clenched, feeling every old wound about trust slice open. He thought he had predicted every angle, and still he missed this.
They want to declare us unstable, push us into a public split, then step in as the calm hands that rescue the companies from our supposed chaos.
The plan depends on one thing, that Claire and Nathan turn on each other the second the pressure spikes, that they repeat the pattern their elders set. The pressure arrives faster than expected. A leak hits the press suggesting that Nathan only married Claire to cover illegal trades tied to her company. Social feeds explode with speculation. Old clips of their cold smiles, replayed with cruel captions about mercenary hearts and convenient devotion.
Did you know about this? About any of this? Tell me the truth. Nathan, do not hide behind strategy now.
For a heartbeat, he hesitates, shame flickering over his face, because he once considered a similar move years ago. And that small pause feels like a confession to her.
Of course. I was stupid to think you were different. I bet there is a line in the contract where you win even if I burn.
She grabs her overnight bag, the one she never fully unpacked, and storms out of the penthouse, leaving silence and a trail of unsaid things behind. Nathan does not chase her. Not at first. old instincts telling him distance is safer than begging someone to stay. He spends the night digging, tracing the leak to a shell company tied to their parents' advisory circle, watching the pattern unfold in sickening detail. Across town, Claire crashes on her best friend couch, staring at the ceiling, while doubt and hurt tangle with the memory of the way Nathan listened to her pain.
I walked into this telling myself it was business. So why does it feel like my chest is cracking open now that I think he might have used me?
Morning brings headlines screaming about a secret separation. Paparazzi photos of Claire entering a different building feeding the story that their perfect merger is failing. Instead of issuing a denial, Nathan calls an emergency shareholders meeting and sends Claire a single message with the time and location. She considers ignoring it, then remembers what it felt like when he defended her in that glass conference room, when he told a partner that her record stood on its own. At the meeting, cameras lining the back wall, Nathan steps up to the podium and lays out the entire scheme, including his own past mistakes and the memo they found.
I entered this marriage as a transaction. I will not pretend otherwise, but somewhere between the first fake smile and the last late-night strategy session, it stopped being only about numbers. Our parents expected us to repeat their pattern, to choose ego over honesty, to destroy each other on the way to the top. I refused to give them that show.
The doors at the back of the room open, and Claire walks in, shoulders squared, eyes clear, choosing in that moment whether to stand beside him or turn away.
For the record, I also signed this marriage as a deal. But the only instability I see is in the people who would sacrifice their children for a slightly higher share price.
Together they move the focus, proposing a new governance structure that limits their parents' control and locks in protections for employees and minority shareholders. The vote is not guaranteed, but as murmurs rise in the room, it becomes clear that the story has shifted. They are no longer puppets in a family drama, but leaders defining their own stakes. Autumn paints the skyline in softer light. By the time the 1-year mark approaches, the date stamped in their contract, like an expiration label on their lives. The new governance plan passed with a narrow margin, their parents forced into advisory roles without the power to override board decisions. Old board members who once doubted them now reference the Claire and Nathan model in meetings, half joking and half in awe of the chaos they survived. The companies stabilize, layoffs avoided, community programs funded, headlines shifting from scandal to praise for the unlikely pair who turned a messy alliance into real reform. Inside the penthouse, the treaty line of pillows on the bed has vanished, replaced by tangled sheets and the familiar comfort of another heartbeat in the dark. They have not said the word love, not out loud, but it lingers in the way Nathan remembers her coffee order, and Claire waits up when his flights run late. On the last day of the contract term, a legal envelope appears on the kitchen island, delivered by a messenger who left before anyone could ask questions. Claire picks it up with steady hands, heart loud in her ears, wondering if this is the moment they quietly end the performance and return to safer distances. Nathan watches her from the opposite side of the island, every instinct screaming to make a joke and deflect, to keep things casual enough that leaving will not hurt.
It is the official exit paperwork. If we sign, the marriage dissolves cleanly. Assets stay as they are. Our parents cannot touch a thing.
That is what we wanted at the start. A safe way out. No broken hearts. Only a story the press can spin into a mutual decision.
Silence stretches between them, full of every shared victory, every late-night confession, every time one of them reached for the other, without even thinking about it.
I do not want to be another line in your risk reports. Nathan, another asset. You exited at the right time. I need to know if this is still just a deal.
Her vulnerability hangs in the air, raw and brave, the exact kind of emotional exposure she swore she would never offer anyone again.
When we started, I kept a mental clock counting down to this day. I told myself I would not let you under my skin. I was wrong. You are the first person who sees every part of me. The wins, the failures, the ugly coping strategies, and still chooses to stand next to me in every room.
He takes the envelope, rips it in half, then again, letting the pieces scatter across the polished marble like confetti from a very strange celebration.
I do not want an exit. I want a choice. If you stay, it is not because a contract traps you. It is because you believe we can build something real.
For a long moment, Claire just looks at him, seeing not the untouchable investor the world worships, but the man who defended her when no one else did, who let her see his scars,
I never learned how to need someone without fearing the crash. But with you, the fear feels smaller than the thought of walking out that door alone.
She steps around the island and into his arms, the decision settling in her chest, like a new kind of strength, fragile and fierce at the same time. Later, on a quiet rooftop above a city that now knows their names for more than scandal, they exchange rings that have nothing to do with board votes or merger terms.
This time there is no Section 16, no exit clause, only two people who are never taught how to love trying anyway. Together!
We started as a headline and a strategy sheet. We can end that chapter and start a new one, where we are not performing for anyone but ourselves.
As the sun sinks behind the skyline, they stand side by side, fingers intertwined, no longer pretending they are immune to love, but finally allowing it to remake them. Their story stops being about a contract and becomes about two people who learn that healing is not weakness, and that choosing each other is the bravest deal they will ever sign. In the years that follow, other couples will cite them in boardrooms and therapy sessions, proof that even the iciest arrangements can thaw into something real.
Thanks for watching. Follow for more romance stories.